We're all thinking Christmas presents. We're all thinking Christmas shopping. And if you're anything like me, you're also thinking, okay, I need to kind of keep it together and budget. We have new variants of COVID. We don't know what's happening, supply chain issues. What does next year look like? How am I supposed to do everything that I need to do this holiday season, but also make sure that I am personally fiscally responsible, I should say. And I am delighted to introduce Mr. Pedro Burrows, who is the Senior Manager of Sales and Business Development at Bank of the Bahamas, who is one of our longtime sponsoring firms. And Mr. Burrows is also a JA alum. So I know that we're going to get some good stuff, both from the program and your experience in education, Mr. Burrows. And with that, I will turn the floor over. You will have an opportunity to ask questions. Sorry, didn't turn the floor over. But one more housekeeping note, you will have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat or at the question and answer session. Sometimes people do like to private message me, and that's fine. I will ask your questions for you. And with that, Mr. Burrows, I think that we can get started. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
All right, good morning, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all who've gotten up early this morning to join us in this session. So thanks again. So if you don't mind, I am going to share my screen now. All right, so good morning again, everyone. So, as we all know, we are in a the COVID-19 pandemic right now, and this is something that we've been living with now for about 2 years. And so I think we've all had some experience, either ourselves or a family member who's been impacted by COVID-19. We know COVID-19 has really changed the landscape. It's really changed our social, our professional, and our social environments. And really, the unexpected and the unanticipated fallout that's been caused by this public health crisis has really ballooned into, an economic challenge that we've not seen in our lifetime before. And, while some factors that affect our finances are within our individual control, I think financial knowledge can help us, that are not within our individual control, especially as a result of COVID-19. I think that some knowledge can help us to better manage our finances through the times of hardship and the times of prosperity. And I think, as we are getting closer to the Christmas season right now, I think this is going to be some valuable information, not just for this season, but as we move beyond. So, the economy is starting to see some signs of improvement. We have a lot of Bahamians that are back to work, and tourism is rebounding. And so things are looking up, right? We know that there's the Omicron variant right now, and so there's still a bit of uncertainty, but for the most part, I think it's safe to say that we are well on our way. So, of course, as we approach this holiday season, I know that we're all excited about being able to spend some time with our family and friends and get back to, some sense of normalcy. And for many Bahamians, we know the Christmas time comes with a lot of food, a lot of social events, and of course, a lot of shopping. And so, with that said, I think, but this presentation this morning, we're really going to discuss some ways that you can help control your expenses and save, and not, again, like I said, not just during the holiday season, but as we move into 2022 and beyond. So with that said, we will get started. So tip number 1, set goals. And so goals can be as serious as building a new home, or as simple as ensuring you have an enjoyable holiday without overextending yourself. But whatever it is that you want to do, you don't want a financial disaster because of lack of planning. So make sure to prioritize your goals, which will give you the best chance at meeting them. All right. So, there are 3 types of goals. long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. And so it's important to determine effective timeframes and figure out what works for you in terms of achieving your goal. A rule of thumb, short-term, we're looking at under a year, medium-term, 2 to 5 years, and long-term goals, we're thinking about that 5 to 10-year mark. It's also important to keep the number of goals manageable. I know sometimes, especially Bahamians, we like to bite off a little more than we can chew, but it's important to make sure that your goals are manageable. So set 1 or 2 long-term goals first, and then 3 to 5 medium goals that explicitly link your long-term goals, like saving for perhaps a down payment for a home. Set up 5 short-term goals that build systems to achieve your medium-term goals, like saving $200 a month, for example, or $100 a month. Another tip, it's important to review and adjust your goals where necessary. All right, life happens, we know that, and things change, but you want to be able to stick as closely to your goals as possible. Tip number 2, budgeting, establishing a budget. All right, I know we've heard about this, many of us know what it's all about. Many of us would like to budget, but find it difficult to. But we're going to discuss just how we can set a realistic budget and hopefully stick to it. And of course, to be successful at saving, we have to look at budgeting and expense management. And so what is a budget? Simply put, a budget is an estimate of income and expenses and expenditure over a set period of time. Budgeting helps you to track your expenses to see where your money is going, like food, gas, rent, credit card payments, other bank payments. And budgeting helps you to control your day-to-day spending, of course, if you stick to it. How do you get started? It's very simple. Record your take-home or your net income, and that's your salary after all of your deductions for insurances and national insurance as well. And of course, any other sources of income. You might have rent or some other form of income. Maybe you may have something that you do on the side that provides some income as well. Number 2, record your expenses. This will give you a visual count of exactly where your money is going. And 3, pay yourself first. I know we may have heard this term before, and it really means making sure that you put a little something aside for savings, whether that's an emergency fund or making extra payments on loans or retirement. But it's important to make sure that your budget includes something for savings. So right here, we just have a sample budget. It's pretty simple. It takes into consideration what we had just discussed, of course, your income, all right, all forms of income. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, we have the expenses. All right, so let's just go over 5 simple, practical savings tips. Number 1, automate your savings by using standing orders or salary deductions. And set up regular deposits or transferred into a restricted account so that you can save money before spending it. For example, instead of waiting to put money into your savings after you've paid your bills at the end of the month, automatic transfers allows you to save the money first. And this goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, paying yourself first. Buy in bulk wherever possible. I know this has been something that we have done for some time now. We are all familiar with Costride and BFS, so we want to take advantage of the wholesale shopping outlets here in the Bahamas. I know a lot of people bring in groceries and bulk items from abroad as well. That can be very cost effective. And of course, if it's too much for you, it's always a good idea to split your costs and the food and the items with family or friends, and that makes it more manageable as well. Reducing your electricity bill. This is a big one for us. We know BPL, is our friend sometimes and sometimes not our friends. But there are some ways that you can look at reducing your electricity bill, like turning off the AC and other appliances when not in use, and switching out some of your appliances to energy efficient appliances and LED light bulbs in comparison to the incandescent bulbs. Number 4, reduce or eliminate extra services. So, that BTC phone bill, that Alive phone bill, Cable Bahamas internet packages, you may want to consider scaling those back a bit, and you'd be surprised at how much money you'd save on a monthly basis. Reduce the cost of car fuel by reducing car trips. It's always a good idea, especially when you're running errands, to plan your errands. So, you don't have to make extra trips. Now we're going to go over a few holiday spending tips. The first thing is limit your gift list. Write down everyone you plan to give gifts to, from your closest family and friends to co-workers and other associates. I know this is difficult for many of us because, during the holiday season, we feel as if everyone should get a gift. But we know right now there are many of us who, are either on reduced income or who are trying to dig themselves up out of, some of the financial stress from the pandemic, or just returning back to work and getting their finances and getting our finances in order. And so limiting your gift list to close family and friends is a good way to help you save during this holiday season. Place a dollar figure next to each name. And of course, when we set prices or price limit, it helps you to stay within your budget and on track. Setting a budget and be realistic about this budget. And of course, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, budgeting, allows you to set limits for purchases and avoid overspending. Based on your current financial position, record how much you can comfortably afford to spend on holiday gifts and activities. You may not want to go to every single party. You may not want to buy the more expensive gifts. And this will help you to stay within your budget for the Christmas season as well. And keep track of your budgeting and spending by writing it down in a notebook or using your cell phone to take notes. And there are even some apps that you can use to help you with your budget. Shop early. Many retailers online and those brick and mortar stores, they advertise sales ahead of the holiday season. I know a few retailers are having sales right now. Some were having holiday sales in November as well. But shopping early allows you to take advantage of the discounts and can really ease the burden of purchasing all your gifts at once. Avoid impulse shopping. I know this is a big one for us. Most retailers really have perfected the art of appealing to the consumer's emotions. They use these very fancy ads, these catchy jingles on the radios, these flash sales, Black Friday. We had that Black Friday sales just a week or two ago. And, sometimes it's more marketing than anything else. And the quote unquote savings that you would get from these sales are, in a lot of cases, not really worth it. And so it's usually best to, do some window shopping, take note of the prices, and perhaps come back. You may rethink whether or not you need that purchase or need to buy that item. Factor in shipping and duty. This is especially important for online purchases. So you have to remember that the items purchased online do not include shipping and added costs of customs duty and VAT. Some retailers offer free shipping, and so it's a really good idea to shop around. Tip number 3, use credit wisely. So of course, at some point in our lives, most of us will have to borrow, and using credit wisely is an important part of financial wellness. And so for your benefit, debt is defined simply as a sum of money owed or due. And for many, debt has a negative connotation, especially in the Bahamas. But if it's used and managed properly, debt can be the key to financial prosperity. So let's talk a little bit about good debt. Good debt includes borrowing or loans that will help you purchase long-term assets like homes and other investments, or loans that will help you to increase your earning potential, like business ownership, education loans, or income-generating properties. Bad debt includes those loans for perhaps some important life event or wedding or baby shower or some other party, and high levels of unsecured debt, especially for frivolous spending. So let's just go over a few debt management tips. Tip number one, be realistic about the amount of debt you can take on. Determine your borrowing capacity by calculating your DSR or debt servicing ratio. Lenders usually use this ratio when someone applies for a mortgage or a consumer loan to determine if the borrower can manage and meet the monthly payments. To calculate your DSR, you would add all of your monthly debt payments and then divide them by your monthly gross income. And this is the income before all of your deductions. And ideally, this number should be no more than 40%, or that ratio should be no more than 40%. Watch your credit card balances. Do not use credit cards to purchase items you cannot afford or to pay other bills. You should pay your monthly payment in full and on time to avoid extra charges, late fees, and over the limit fees. If you can, you should pay more than the monthly payment, and this would allow you to reduce your balance quickly. Try to keep your balances low. The interest rate on most credit cards is roughly 18%, which is very high. All right, so to avoid high interest amounts, keep your balances as low as possible and make your payments on time. And of course, find ways to lower your debt if you can. Start by paying off your high interest rate debts first. And again, usually those credit cards are the highest rate loans. Unsecured consumer loans, as we know, also have high interest rates. And so it's good to make a plan to pay these off as soon as possible by paying more than the minimum required. Now, if you can't do this or can't do it right away, consider focusing on your small debts, your small loans first, and then wait and work your way up to the larger loans afterwards. Make extra payments where you can, and this will help you to pay off your loan faster while saving you money and interest. And of course, consider consolidating your debt. Debt consolidation is really taking out a new loan to repay a number of loans, a number of debts. And this will allow you to combine all of those loans into one loan for one monthly payment, usually with more favorable terms. And the payments are usually lower than all of those payments combined that you would have consolidated. All right, so just a few useful resources as we wrap up. The Central Bank of the Bahamas is keen on financial literacy for Bahamians. The website getmoneysmartbahamas.com has a lot of useful tips and articles on debt management, investments, and savings. And Monify is a cell phone app for Android and Apple devices. It allows you to track your budget, allows you to set budgets, and also budgets within budgets, and helps you to keep track of your spending. And so it's one that I use, it's one that I recommend, and I think you'd get some benefit from it as well. And so with that said, I really want to thank you all for joining today's discussion. I'm hoping that you would have had some benefit from it. I'm happy to hear that this session will be recorded. And so at this time, I'm going to open the floor up for any questions. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burrows. I actually never had thought of reducing my trips into some of more of those practical methods in lowering my spends. We do have a few questions from the private chat, and I would love to encourage everyone to come on in with your questions once there's an opening, or you can put it into the chat and I will read it out for you. So this question is, if I haven't managed to save short term for this Christmas, is it better to get a loan or to use credit cards?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Ideally, you should not be spending what you don't have. But of course, I know this is a very important time for a lot of Bahamians. If you absolutely have to borrow, I would advise you to shop around for the lowest rates and lowest fees and the most favorable terms. Some financial institutions don't allow you to make extra payments, and that's something that we talked about in today's chat as well. And so make sure if you do borrow for Christmas purchases, if you have to borrow for Christmas purchases, that you shop around for the best rates and terms.
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Also, if I have a fixed deposit, should I break it rather than borrow?
I never advise my customers to break their term deposits. It's always a good idea to have that cash around. Borrowing against it is the preferred option. Yes, that's the preferred option.
Thank you.
If you're able to, of course.
Okay, got it. I think you might have covered this when this question popped up, but let's do it anyway, just in case we need to elaborate on it a little bit. Do debt consolidation loans actually help to reduce debt long-term, or is it just another loan?
So let me first start off by saying debt consolidation is not for everyone, right? You have to look at your individual circumstances and get sound financial advice. It's not for everyone, and it won't help everyone. But for the most part, consolidating debts help. What usually happens is when you have multiple loans, there are multiple interest rates. Most of them are unsecured and the rates are very high, right? And so consolidating them into one loan with a lower payment for most people will help them. You have one payment that frees up a lot of your disposable income that you can use, or your extra income that you can use to save and put somewhere else.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Another question, can you briefly explain how credit card works?
Okay, not a problem. So a credit card is in what we consider in finance a revolving credit facility. And so it's basically like a loan that that never ends until you pay it off and cancel it. And so it's designed to work where, you make your purchases, you make minimum payments or more than the minimum payment, or make your full payment or pay off your full balance at the end of the month. And ideally that is best because, for consumers, you don't pay interest. And so credit cards have a set limit, $1,000, $2,000. And an interest rate. Interest rates usually are anywhere from 18 to 21%. Your minimum monthly payment is a percentage of your balance. And a good rule of thumb is usually 3 to 5% of your actual balance. And that's what you're going to be required to pay on a monthly basis. And because your balance will vary from month to month, if you're not paying the balance off in full, your minimum payment will vary month to month. And so it's a really good idea to make sure that you're managing those credit cards and not going over the limit, because, of course, if you go over the limit, they're going to be over the limit fees. There's more that you'll be paying in interest. And of course, your minimum payment, or the payment that would be expected on a monthly basis, would be more than, perhaps what you can afford. And so in a nutshell, that's how it works. I'm hoping I answered your question, Ms. Johnson. If you need further clarity, I will provide my contact information, and you can reach out to me after today's call.
Thank you. Just another question that popped into me. Should I pull money from my credit card using the ATM or swipe? which is the best option? Sorry.
Best option is to, if you know, to make the purchase using the POS device, swiping or inserting, using the card, your credit card at the ATM machine. You're talking about credit card, correct?
Correct. It said credit card.
Credit card. So yes, that's considered a cash advance, and they usually come with a lot of high fees.
Okay, I actually have a question. A lot of our credit cards would normally come with rewards. So for instance, I have a family member that will just spend on the credit card and then pay the balance off in the, like before the due date. And I've been told that he will not have then any interest that would accumulate, but he's then reaping the rewards. Is that a smart way to kind of go about using your cards?
Yes, 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 it is. Yes, it is. That's beneficial for the customers, not so much the bank, but yes, that is a really good way to reap the rewards from those cards. Because technically, you're not paying interest. You won't be paying interest if you pay your balance off in full before the due date, and you're getting rewards for every dollar you spend on the card.
Thank you. That was very helpful. And then just one more question that I have, and I will encourage everyone to ask your questions. Does BOB have short-term savings accounts?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I would encourage you all to visit our website, www.bankbahamas.com, or you can email us at loans@bankbahamas.com, and we will get back to you within 24 hours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burrows. That was all of the questions that had popped into me. Is there anyone that would like the opportunity now to ask Mr. Burrows a question? I feel like we have a golden opportunity and a wealth of knowledge, so please take advantage. Okay. All right, Mr. Burrows, again, I want to say thank you so much for coming in on your Saturday. I know you are now going off to do some charity work. So not only a great presentation, but just a good example to follow during the Christmas season. Again, thank you everyone for joining us here on this, your Saturday morning. Please look out for our emails during the Christmas. What we are going to do is just give a little poll to see which times suit everybody best for our 2022 seminars, so that we can keep everybody connected and informed. Again, thank you everyone so much. Happy holidays and enjoy your Saturday.